Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show as we have a lot to get into the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers winning, but in super duper ugly fashion against the New England Patriots. But hey, they're still alive in the playoff race for the time being, as this week they are home against the Denver Broncos. And how about the Rams taking down the Cleveland Browns? And just like that, they're back in the playoff race. But this week, they're hitting the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Do the Rams have a chance against those dirty birds? Also, how about LAFC advancing to its second straight MLS Cup Final, as they just dominated the Houston Dynamo, as this Saturday they take on Columbus Crew. And how about the Lakers? They're in the final of the in-season tournament, which I guess is good. They'll be playing the Indiana Pacers in the in-season tournament final as well. And Cal State LA, yes, Cal State LA, their women's volleyball team is in the NCAA Division II championship, as I'll be talking about a little bit of that, as well as USC Football hiring their defensive coordinator, and a little bit of USC women's basketball. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 158 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on, formerly known as Twitter, X, Instagram, and on TikTok at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page for those that still use Facebook. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio, like us, and follow us on Facebook, and then boom, that's how you're able to follow us. We also have a daily updated website, www.iesportsradio.com, for your latest sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as this one, our community forum, and our merchandise shop, because winter is rolling around and you need to cop yourself a hoodie. For the past 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. And all you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order. And while you're on that website and you purchase an order of $50 or more, you get shipping for free. And prices are slashed for a limited time only. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, and X only, at SoCal Show IESR, and I'm mainly active on X as well, at Teran Rodriguez 1. Alright, with all that said and done, let's begin. So, I'm going to try to get this done as soon as possible, just because at 4 p.m. my time we have another show going on, and I don't want to overlap John Felipe and Carolina Cast, but I digress. Anyway, so let's talk about the Chargers, and honestly, I'm going to make this really short. Okay, so this past Sunday was actually my birthday, and I was really hoping, well, the best birthday present I had was just not going to work and not doing a whole lot. I mean, if friends took me out for my birthday, awesome, but the best birthday gift I could receive is me just laying around and just watching football and enjoying myself. So basically, I got to watch the Chargers and Patriots, and I'm going to say this. I turned 31 this past weekend. I feel like I just turned 51. So for me, watching that game really took 20 years off of my age, and I forgot that it was raining. I didn't know that it was raining at the time that I had previewed that game. And let's just say offense was a massive struggle for both the Chargers and the Patriots. Mainly the Patriots. But the Chargers just couldn't get any traction going. The run game just wasn't existent or hardly existent. Throwing the ball was just tough just because no one could catch it. And if anyone were to catch it, then it would basically be a once in a blue moon opportunity. And the only points that were scored were courtesy of Cameron Dicker, as he scored the only points for the Chargers in the second quarter, as he scored both field goals, as the Chargers led 6-0 at halftime, and they eventually pitched a shutout against the Patriots. The last time the Chargers pitched a shutout was 2017 when they shut out the Denver Broncos 21-0. And winning at New England is never easy, especially in conditions like that, where it's either snowy or rainy. But the Chargers wound up beating the Patriots, albeit the Patriots were starting Bailey Zappi, but I will give a lot of credit to the Chargers. They did not allow Justin Herbert to get sacked, although his receivers didn't do him any favors by dropping the ball, and also the defense didn't do him any favors by dropping interceptions and allowing big plays. But the defense did shut out the Patriots, albeit the Chargers also, they stripped Ramondre Stevenson of the ball. And I will say this, losing Ramondre Stevenson really hurt the Patriots. If the Patriots don't lose Ramondre Stevenson, I think the Chargers I wouldn't say they lose, but the Patriots offense looks a lot better. But Ramondre Stevenson was just jamming the ball down the Chargers' throats. Because, let's be honest, no one was going to throw the ball in rainy conditions. So, for me, I feel that game was so ugly. It was so ugly that it got done in less than 3 hours. So, yeah, there's nothing to really discuss except Brandon Staley keeps his job for another week, and the Chargers are still in contention for a playoff spot. The game was just so horrible, dude. Like, I really could not believe what I was seeing. I almost had PTSD watching that game. So, for me, that's all I really have to say. I will give credit to the Chargers defense. Like I said, they forced a fumble, albeit it was against Ramondre Stevenson getting hurt, and they shut out the Patriots, and they got 5 sacks on Bailey Zappi, and even when the Patriots had big plays, they came up big and answered the bell, which is, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's big because the Chargers never really have big time plays, or their defense just always collapses at the worst possible time. But for the Chargers, getting a win at New England is huge, because the last time the Chargers beat the Patriots at New England was, I think it was 2005, if not 2004, when the Chargers won, I think 41-17, when Drew Brees was the quarterback, and the Patriots obviously still had Tom Brady. But all in all for the Chargers, it was an ugly win, but it was a very, very good win. Even though it was against a Patriots team, which I don't know how they found their offense last night in Thursday Night Football, but it was a ugly win against an offensive inept team. It was the battle of two offensive inept teams, and heck, I think it would have been better if they had just kicked field goals. So all in all for that game, that's pretty much all I have to offer for that game. I don't really need to go full in depth into that game because the more I do, the more I basically melt my brain. And I will give a shout out to Alex Erickson. He had the game clinching catch from Justin Herbert in a game where rain was a hindrance for both teams and throwing the ball was a chore. Alex Erickson, who had no receptions, caught the ball when the Chargers threw on third down, and I understand throwing for it on third down, and you have a good quarterback, and he hasn't been pressured, well, not pressured, but he hasn't been sacked all game, but it's kind of 50-50, but I understand why the Chargers decided to throw it on third down late in the game, just because the Chargers, they clearly had no run game going. It was a very, very, very sad game. It was extremely sad, if you ask me. So, all in all, for the Chargers, it was still an impressive win, and it makes their win a little bit better because last night the Patriots beat the Steelers 21-18, which I don't understand how. It was so bad for the Chargers' run game. Austin Eckler led them with 18 rushing yards, and he had 14 carries. Yeah, that ugly. That ugly. And the Chargers were out-yarded. I don't know if that's a word, but still. They were out-yarded the entire game, and they didn't really have too much possession, and they were limited in terms of penalties. They limited their penalties. They only had 4, which is good. So all in all for the Chargers, they got that ugly win out of the way. Now they got this week where they're home against Denver. And if the Chargers really want to have any motivation of winning, they better win this week because this is Antonio Gates week. I think they're going to put him in the Ring of Honor or the Hall of Fame or anything of that sort. So the Chargers had better win. And it's against the Denver Broncos, too. It's against a division rival. And it just adds so much more motivation for the Chargers because they're playing for Antonio Gates. They're not just playing for themselves and for a playoff spot. They're playing for a legend. So we'll see what happens. For me, I guess I'll go into that game. The Broncos did see their winning streak get snapped. I think it was a 4 or 5 game winning streak. They lost to the Houston Texans. And I will say that there's no shame in losing to that team just because the Texans are much improved. But I will say the Broncos they're good as advertised. They're much better than they were last season. And Sean Payton obviously is good. Is actually working his magic in terms of the quarterback whisperer. But for the Chargers, they really need to show their chops in this game. They really need to get their offense going. They have no excuse now. They're no longer playing in rain unless it rains on Sunday, which I highly doubt. But all in all for the Chargers, they really need to get their you-know-what together offensively. Otherwise, their playoff hopes are going to take a massive hit because the AFC is such a big logjam right now. You've got the Steelers vying for a playoff spot, the Browns vying for a playoff spot, Broncos vying for a playoff spot, Houston's vying for a playoff spot, Indianapolis is vying for a playoff spot, Raiders are still vying for a playoff spot, believe it or not. The Bengals, despite losing Joe Burrow, they're vying for a playoff spot. And heck, the Jaguars, if they somehow don't lose, or if they somehow don't win their division, they could be vying for a playoff spot in terms of the wild card. So the Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills too. And the remaining schedule for the Chargers doesn't get easier because they've got the Broncos, and then quick turnaround because they've got the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday Night Football, which I guess I might as well go over that game as well. But one game at a time. And then they've got the Bills on Saturday night, and then they've got at Denver in the second to last game, and then the Chiefs, depending on where the Chiefs are at, could depend on if the Chiefs rest their starters or not. So, for me, I really want the Chargers to pull out this win. It would mean so much for Antonio Gates and for me. And, again, if they win this game, you're starting to believe more. Because, first and foremost, I don't like here's my thing, and I did not know this of Sean Payton, and this is courtesy of Matt Money Smith. Sean Payton was trying to persuade the media to try to get Brandon Staley out of there and try to snag the Chargers job from underneath Brandon Staley's nose and from the Chargers' grasp, which I didn't know. But again, this is courtesy of Matt Money Smith, and it would be quite funny if the Chargers wound up beating Sean Payton and the Broncos. But this is going to be a very tough game. I really think that the Chargers are going to have the work cut out for them. I get it. Their defense is better, but again, last week they played an inept Patriots team that couldn't score to save their lives. The previous week they did all they could against the Ravens, even though the Ravens basically pulled away. The week before, they were in that game until the offense kept dropping the ball, no pun intended, and then the game against the Ravens, or not the Ravens, the Lions, was a complete tragedy. But this week, the Chargers really have to get their you-know-what together. And I also forgot to mention, in the game against the Packers, the Chargers lost Joey Bosa. That's a huge loss right there. The Chargers cannot afford to lose big-time players like him. It just means the pass rush is just going to have to step up with players like Tuli Tuipulotu and Khalil Mack. And Khalil Mack, I did not know this, and this was from Daniel Popper of, I forget what he works for or who he works for, but Daniel Popper, the beat reporter for the Chargers, he actually did a feature on Khalil Mack. He did a feature on him saying that he was actually contemplating retirement after the Jacksonville game. That's how crushing that Jacksonville game was. And Brandon Staley is such a liar when he says that the Jacksonville game didn't affect the Chargers. Bologna sausage, dude. Still think that game still affected the Chargers going into this season. But for Khalil Mack, he was actually contemplating retirement after the Jacksonville game, or the Jacksonville loss. But now he's still here, and he's still doing big things for the Chargers. And the best part is the Chargers still have to play the Raiders, and he always comes up big against the Raiders. But for this week against the Broncos, I'm going to say the Chargers win, and that's not being optimistic. I really think the Chargers have a shot at winning. I say the Chargers win 24-21 this week. This week I have the Chargers winning 24-21. And then next Thursday, when they take on Raiders, I had to do it. I'm sorry. But when they take on the Raiders, it'll be on Thursday Night Football, which is a massive turnaround. It's a short week. I'm going to say the Chargers win that one too, but the Raiders always play the Chargers close the second go-around. I'm going to say the Chargers win that one, let's say 28-20. I think the Raiders give the Chargers everything that they can handle just because it's a rivalry game, divisional matchup, but I think the Chargers can pull it out. All right, but that is that for the Chargers right there. Now let's go to the Rams. All right, so the Rams, remember how I told you that last week was such an important week because they were taking on the Cleveland Browns? Well, the Rams came up big, and they wound up beating the Rams in very nice fashion. I wouldn't say I'm generally surprised, but they wound up beating the Browns 36-19. The game was closer than expected, even though the Rams led for the most part of the game, even though the Browns got on the board first because Joe Flacco was starting. Yeah, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is still starting in 2023. Go figure. He got the... Oh, I'm sorry. Jen B is in the chat room, and she's sad. I'm sorry, Jen B. I have to rip off the Band-Aid, but the Browns, they scored first, but then the Rams wound up kicking a 44-yard field goal, and then Matthew Stafford found Puka Nacua, who scored a 70-yard catch-and-run touchdown, and then eventually it was 13-10 as both teams exchanged field goals. Dustin Hopkins hit a 24-yard field goal in the third quarter, and then the Rams, late in the third quarter, wound up finding Demarcus Robinson, courtesy of Matthew Stafford, for the touchdown. And I totally forgot Demarcus Robinson was on the team. But I'm glad the Chargers actually rediscovered him, or at least Stafford did. But then the Browns responded with an 8-yard touchdown pass from Joe Flacco to Harrison Bryant. However, Dustin Hopkins missed the PAT, and I feel horrible for Dustin Hopkins. But as I said on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show X account, you could take the former Chargers player out of the Chargers, but you can't take the former Chargers player, but you can't take the Chargers out of the former Chargers player. And sadly, the Chargers struggled with kicks back in the old day. It's confusing, I know, but if you're a Chargers fan like me, you get it. So that eventually left the door open just a crack for the Rams, and eventually the Rams shut the door on the Browns as Cooper Kupp scored a 3-yard touchdown pass, and then Kyren Williams had a touchdown run from 1 yard out. He actually was 1 yard short, and then eventually he ran it in again, and then he scored, which was good. And then Joe Flacco was sacked in the end zone for a safety, and I feel for Joe Flacco, but I don't because of all the times he's beaten the Chargers. But I digress. So that's how the Rams pretty much won. Their defense kind of rose to the occasion, and hence the word kinda. It wasn't the cleanest game, but it certainly wasn't as bad as what we saw with the Chargers and Patriots. The Rams defended their home turf, and yes, I know there were lots of Browns fans. I know the dog pound invaded SoFi, but the Rams got the last laugh in terms of winning. Kyren Williams was absolutely amazing. Puka Nacua, even though he got dinged up, he was amazing. Cooper Kupp finally got a touchdown. I was wondering when he was going to find the end zone. So the Rams, just like that, they're back in playoff contention as they currently are not in a wild card spot, as thanks to them losing to the Green Bay Packers, they unfortunately are right behind the Packers in terms of the standings. But as you all saw on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show X account, I basically went over the Vikings' final 5 games, as well as the Packers' final 5 games, and the Seahawks' final 5 games, and the Rams' final 5 games. So the Rams, they are back in action on Sunday when they hit the road to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And this is going to be a tough matchup. I will not dance around this. The Rams are in for a rough ride. I do not expect this to be an easy matchup. I can't really say that the Rams are going to win this one, just because they're facing one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the AFC. And I will say this, even if the Rams lose this game, their playoff hopes are not dead, but it just will make things a little bit more tougher to make the playoffs. Again, I have the Rams realistically going 9-8. I have the Packers probably going like 4-1 based on their final few games. The Vikings' final 5 games are so unpredictable based on their situation without Kirk Cousins, but they do have Justin Jefferson returning as well. And then Seattle's last few games, I can maybe see them going 3-6, or not 3-6, 3-2, if not 2-3. I feel the Seahawks might be the odd man out, but if the Rams pull an upset, and maybe if the Niners rest all their starters, then maybe the Rams might have a shot in terms of their final game of the regular season. But it's all going to depend on the last few games. And currently right now, the Vikings hold the 6th seed, the Packers hold the 7th seed, and then the Rams are on the outside looking in, looking at 8, while the Seahawks are looking at the 9 seed. So as for this game against the Ravens, look, it's going to be tough. Lamar Jackson is so shifty and so crafty, and he's just so tough to bring down. So I really want to see the Rams pull off a signature-ish win. I mean, it's so sad when the Cleveland Browns, and no offense to you, Gen B, and no offense, Jen, but it's so sad when the Cleveland Browns are actually the Rams' best win of the season. Their other wins are against the Colts in overtime, and then the Seahawks twice, and then you also have 2 wins over the Cardinals, which aren't really the best thing going for them. I mean, currently the Browns surprisingly have the 5 seed in the AFC. That's why I think the Browns are the Rams' best win of the season. so there you go. But against the Ravens, look, this is going to be a massive jump from the Browns in terms of the AFC North. You know what? I really want to say the Rams are going to win, but I just don't see it. And Jen B says so many injuries. Yeah, I know. And you can say the same for the Chargers as well. And the Rams had to deal with that last year. But for the Rams, look, Jen, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. I got the Ravens winning. Now, it's not impossible for the Rams to win. Yet, if they weren't playing Lamar Jackson and they were playing Tyler Snoop Huntley, then maybe the Rams would have a shot at winning. But the Rams have such a young defense, and Aaron Donald can only do so much. The only way the Rams basically pull out the win is if their defense comes flying and the offensive line keeps Matthew Stafford clean, and heaven forbid that the Chargers weren't able to do that against the Ravens, and then Puka Nacua goes off big time, and then Cooper Kupp goes into Super Bowl mode. But I got the Ravens winning. What's a respectable score for this Rams-Raven? I got the Ravens winning 27-17. I think the Rams make it respectable, but I don't think they cover. I think the Rams, unfortunately, will get worked early and often. Jen B says, I know, I do too. It is what it is. Ravens can't win the playoffs, though, so there's that. Well, I only wish that the Rams and the Ravens were playing in the playoffs. Then maybe I'd take that into consideration, but the Ravens are basically the Peyton Manning, but I guess the Ravens are the Peyton Manning of the NFL. They do really good in the regular season, but they straight up stink in the playoffs. But for this matchup, I got the Ravens winning 27-17 over the Rams. If the Rams do pull off the win, then I will eat crow. And if the Rams pull off the win, then that's a big bonus for them because they're 7-6, and their next 3 games are against the Commanders, the Saints, and the Giants. The Commanders are in no man's land with Riverboat Ron, a.k.a. Ron Rivera, on the verge of being fired. The Saints are still in contention for the NFC South, but honestly, they just have inept play calling and an inept coach. And then the Giants are starting Tommy DeVito, if not Tyrod Taylor. So there you go. That could be 3 wins right off the bat right there. So for the Rams, if they win this, then they could possibly be flirting with 10 wins this season. But time will tell. And I shouldn't really hold my breath. But Jen B says, I will be very happy if the Rams win. Well, that would be something. If the Rams do win, then that actually helps out the Browns because if the Browns are only 2 games back of the Ravens, believe it or not, even with the loss to the Rams. And I'm sorry that the Rams had to beat the Browns, but the Rams need the win more than ever because if they were 5-7 going into this week, then I think their playoff hopes would be all but over. And I will say, with Deshaun Watson and with Nick Chubb, I think the Browns would have won that one. But unfortunately, and also Amari Cooper getting hurt didn't help matters as well. So we shall see. But that's going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. All right, I actually want to get this over with, and I actually do want to talk about this really, really quick. So let's talk about some NCAA women's volleyball. And I know I talk about that a lot on Set Point, but I do have to give a major shout out to a women's volleyball team that is currently playing right now, and that is currently in the Final Four, and that is currently up 2-0 against the number 2 seed. And that's Cal State Los Angeles. Yes, the Golden Eagles, they're up 2-0 against Missouri of St. Louis. And keep in mind, this Missouri of St. Louis team has only lost one game all season. They're 33-1, and now they are on upset alert, and they're the only NCAA team from Southern California to basically still be alive, which I think is absolutely amazing. So, oh man, if Cal State LA advances to the NCAA Division II Women's Volleyball Championships, that's going to be awesome. And I know it's Division II. Most people don't really care about that, but like I said on Set Point, I am all about promoting the lower levels. And if Cal State LA manages to win the NCAA Women's Volleyball Division II Championship, they are for sure getting a shout-out on SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So, all in all, I have to make note of that, and I will be circling the wagons and going back to that little shout-out thing and going back to that game. The game can be watched on NCAA.com. If not, you can see the play-by-play happening on that website. But there's that right there. I have to make that little update right there, and honestly, that could be something really big. I'm so excited for that. Alright, but that is going to basically do it for that. Again, I'll be circling back to that momentarily. It's not going to be a permanent thing that I'm going to say goodbye to, but I digress. Alright, but that's that for some NCAA women's volleyball talk. I will also make note that Pepperdine and USC also made the NCAA Women's Volleyball Tournament in Division I. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. I had a sneeze for a little bit. But, yeah. Pepperdine and USC made the NCAA Women's Volleyball Division I tournament. Pepperdine wound up losing in the first round to Dayton, while USC wound up winning its first round matchup against UMBC, but they wound up losing in the second round to Pitt, which is in the Elite Eight, aka the regional finals. Alright, but that is that for the NCAA Women's Volleyball roundup right there. Let's jump to some NBA action. And honestly, I will get a little bit more into it just because now I have some time, a little bit more time on my hands. So the Lakers, yes, the Lakers are in the finals of the play-in tournament. Barely, though. So, dating back to last Saturday, they beat the Houston Rockets 107-97, which is nice. And then last Thursday, they got stomped on by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last we checked, 133-110, which was a complete shellacking right when I was doing the show. And then in the in-season tournament, aka in the quarterfinals, the Lakers outlasted the Suns 106-103. I remember the final portion of the game quite clearly, where the Lakers actually got a timeout without possession being called. I don't know how that was possible, but oh man, the Lakers dodged a bullet. So, I'm sorry to Suns fans, but it shouldn't have gotten to that point if we're being realistically honest. So, to Suns fans, I'm sorry the Suns lost in the play-in tournament quarterfinals, but you shouldn't have turned the ball over multiple times, and you shouldn't have gotten off to a slow start. So, sorry. So, after the quarterfinals, the Lakers wound up beating the New Orleans Pelicans yesterday, being Thursday, 133-89. They shellacked the Pelicans. They didn't need any sort of bailout in that game, but LeBron had 30 points in that game, and even though the Lakers were down by 1 at the end of the first quarter, they turned on the gas in the second quarter, and they really turned on the gas in the third quarter. And then that was pretty much that in terms of the game right there. The Lakers never looked back as they basically shellacked the Pelicans into next week. So the Lakers, believe it or not, they are in the finals of the in-season tournament, and they will play the Indiana Pacers on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time in Las Vegas. So that's pretty cool right there. The Pacers actually wound up beating the Milwaukee Bucks, and they also beat the Boston Celtics in the quarterfinals. They beat the Bucks in the semis, Celtics in the quarterfinals. But this is going to be quite interesting if you ask me. I feel the Lakers might be flying into a trap game. I feel the Pacers are much better than that 12-8 record shows, but if the Lakers do pull off this win, then they'll have made history, and then they'll have won the first in-season tournament. What I don't hope for is, I really hope the Lakers do not hang a championship banner just for winning an in-season tournament. If they do so, then they're getting Dumb of the Week, no matter what anyone says. So after the in-season tournament, the Lakers are back in action in regular season play, or just regular play, on Tuesday when they hit the road to the DFW to take on the Dallas Mavericks. Nice little grudge game right there, just because the Mavericks got the better of them earlier. And then the day after, they hit the road, not too far though, as they take on the San Antonio Spurs on Wednesday. And then on Friday, the Lakers take on the San Antonio Spurs. And the only irony for the Lakers is that the Spurs have lost, what? They've lost 15 in a row? Is that the Lakers are the team that snaps the Spurs losing streak, which would be hilarious. I think the entire NBA would laugh at the Lakers. Yeah, the Spurs have lost 15 in a row, and they're one game away from matching their all-time longest losing streak, which would be 16. And Jen B says, the Pacers are tricky. They play fast. And that's my biggest concern for the Lakers. The Pacers play so quick, or the Pacers play so fast, and I don't know if the Lakers can keep up with them. But if the Lakers get off to a strong start, and that's my biggest thing right there for the Lakers. They don't really play well in the first quarter. They always get off to a sluggish start in the second quarter, and they have to start getting it together sooner rather than later. And for me, if the Lakers want to win, they have to have a better start in the first quarter and then just follow that up by just showing pretty much no mercy. And if they win the in-season tournament, cool, but the true end game for the Lakers is win the Larry O'Brien championship. If they win that, then we're all happy in Lakerland. But if not, then c'est la vie. It is what it is. But that's basically that for the Lakers. Currently, right now, the Lakers are 4th in the Western Conference, which is pretty cool, as they're actually doing a whole lot better than we did when we saw them last week after they got slacked by the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's good right there. I'm glad the Lakers are improving their gameplay. One moment, please. Sorry, allergies were kicking my butt. But I'm back, and the Lakers are basically in the finals of the in-season tournament, and I'm excited for that. So now we jump on over to the Clippers, and the Clippers, well, they're doing better, as their last game they beat the Denver Nuggets, albeit Denver was still injured as heck, as they wound up beating the Nuggets 111-102. Last Saturday, the Clippers beat the Warriors 113-112, so big oof regarding the Warriors. Ugh. And then the last Thursday, when I last went live, the Warriors beat the Clippers 120-114. So the Clippers got revenge on their home floor against the Warriors. So tonight the Clippers are in Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Jazz, which have seen better days. And then Monday, the Clippers host the Portland Trail Blazers. And then Tuesday, the Clippers will host the Sacramento Kings. Thursday, the Clippers are home against the Warriors. And then next Saturday, the Clippers are home against the New York Knicks. So the Clippers will have a nice little homestand against certain teams before they head off to a little mini road trip on the 18th through the 21st. And then they'll be back home yet again for Christmas, except they don't play on Christmas Day, just because no one likes to see the Clippers on Christmas Day. But anyway, Clippers they're doing better. They're 9th in the Western Conference standings. At least they're not sucking that bad. But I will say the Clippers, they still have a little work to do, and hey, it beats them not being in the playoff. They're still in the playoff hunt, but it's very early, so I'm not going to downplay the Clippers too much. and what they're doing right now. So all in all for the Clippers, I think they're solid right now, and it's still very early. The Timberwolves of all teams are leading the Western Conference, which I don't think anybody predicted. Then Oklahoma City is second, Denver is third, even though they're injured to heck. Lakers are fourth, Mavericks are fifth, Kings are sixth, and then the play-in four are the Suns, Pelicans, Clippers, and Rockets. It's so weird to see the Warriors on the outside looking in, but again, it's very early. All right, but that is that for the NBA portion of the show. Let's jump to some LAFC action, aka the MLS. So, LAFC managed to make it to the MLS Cup Championship as they dominated Houston 2-0, which was absolutely amazing let's break down the game. So, LAFC managed to get, before halftime, they actually got a goal courtesy of Ryan Hollingshed as he scored in the 44th minute. And eventually LAFC led 1-0. So they were doing pretty good. And then there wasn't much scoring going on. And then in the 80th minute, Franco Escobar of the Houston Dynamo scored. But if you know, he's actually on the Houston Dynamo. So it was an own goal for LAFC, as LAFC wound up leading 2-0. And they managed to basically win the matchup right there. So That's how LAFC managed to win. And the interesting thing is that LAFC didn't even dominate possession all that much, as Houston had possession for over 70% of the game. It just makes... But I guess LAFC made the most of their possession because they had 18 shot attempts. 6 of them were on goal. Well, Houston only had 10 shot attempts, and 5 of them were on goal. And Houston also had 2 yellow cards. I guess I should make note of that. LAFC also had 10 corner kicks to Houston's 3, which was good. And then LAFC had 5 saves to the 6 that Houston had. So good job to LAFC on their win. And Jan B says the opponent that LAFC is playing in the MLS Cup Final. The Columbus Crew, as she says, go Crew. Okay. So it's the battle of the Columbus Crew versus the LAFC in the MLS Cup Final. And LAFC, look, I'm no LAFC fan. I like them, but I'm more of a Galaxy fan. But I would not mind seeing LAFC boon to new heights in terms of the MLS hierarchy. And I know they have a bunch of players that they managed to sign and trade for and whatnot, but I will say it is good to see LAFC becoming relevant. So this game is actually being played in Columbus, Ohio, which I think that is based on the Columbus Crew having a better record than LAFC. So I guess LAFC had the worst record of the two, and if LAFC actually had a better record, then they would have been hosting, or a higher seed. Or maybe it was record. But all in all, both teams are actually seeded third in their respective conference. Columbus Crew is third in the Eastern Conference, and LAFC is seeded third in the Western Conference. So, yeah, we got LAFC basically taking on the Columbus Crew in the MLS Cup Championship game, and it's LAFC trying to shoot for its second MLS Cup Championship, while the Columbus Crew is shooting for its third MLS Cup Championship, and I'm pretty sure the entire world is going to be rooting for Columbus Crew. But I, being the SoCal guy that I am, will be rooting for LAFC. It's nothing personal against Columbus Crew. I mean, I, as a Galaxy fan, would love to see LAFC just blow it on the big stage. But I, as a SoCal guy, would like to see LAFC to go back-to-back. That would be big time right there. And it would also make up for the tournament losses that LAFC suffered earlier in the season. This just goes back to show that those regular season tournaments don't mean squat, because the main end game is the MLS Cup Championship, and LAFC is back in that championship game. Why? Because they managed to win the first round, which was best 2 out of 3. Then they wound up winning the quarterfinal, which was the Western Conference semifinals, which was single elimination. Then the Western Conference final, they wound up winning that one, which was also single elimination. And now we get this matchup against the Columbus Crew. And It's going to be very, very big time right there. And I can't wait to see who comes up big right there. It's going to really boil down to who just strikes first. And if last year's MLS Cup is any indicator of what this year's MLS Cup could be, expect fireworks. Because, oh my God, last year's MLS Cup was just straight up amazing. It was just it was decided in penalty kicks, and then before that, LAFC's goalie got hurt, and my golly, it was just straight up dramatic. It was just anything short of dramatic. And unfortunately for Philadelphia Union, I hate to say this, but LAFC wound up winning in penalty kicks, and it was a special moment for LAFC as they wound up winning their first ever MLS Cup. And it sucks that one team had to lose, but hey, LAFC they were due to win the MLS Cup. For all the times they've had great seasons and they wound up choking in the conference finals or in the second round or heaven forbid the first round, LAFC finally broke through last year. Now it's time to see if they can go back to back against another team that's hungry for a championship. So I'm really excited for this. The final will be at 1 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, and I really can't wait for it. I'm going to try to watch a lot of that as well as some NCAA women's volleyball, which reminds me, it's time to go back to the Cal State Los Angeles versus Missouri of St. Louis women's volleyball match, and Cal State LA is leading Missouri of St. Louis 14-9 in the third set. So if Cal State LA, for all you non-volleyball heads out there, if Cal State LA wins this set, then they advance to the NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship game. If they lose the set, then they play a fourth set, and they'll have to win that set in order to advance. But back to LAFC, I am looking forward to it, and may the best team win, Gen B. It's going to be an in-house rivalry between the SoCal Supreme Sports Show and the Show of the Land, and I can't wait for it. Alright, but that is going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. Jumping over to some NCAA college football. So, thank the heavens there is no college football to be played. No San Diego, no Cal Poly, no USC, no UCLA, no San Diego State. None of those teams could hurt me. Unlike the Chargers with that PTSD-like game against the Patriots. But USC Football actually did make the news. So, USC Football actually did make the news, and they actually did something smart, and I didn't believe that this was a thing, but USC Football hired their new defensive coordinator, and they actually have decided their bowl game has been finalized. But before we get on into the bowl game, I will just say their new defensive coordinator has been hired. But before we get on into that, I do need to give a big shout out to Reggie Bush on getting inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame and the 2023 College Football Hall of Fame. So I'm happy for Reggie Bush. He deserves to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and I'm happy he's inducted. The one thing I will say is, NCAA, you better freaking give his Heisman back or else. And I swear, NCAA, give his Heisman back. We're all tired of us petitioning for it, and Reggie Bush did nothing wrong. Give him his Heisman back or else. Anyway, so now for the big news of who USC hired as their defensive coordinator. Alright, so do we all want to know who USC's defensive coordinator is? USC's defensive coordinator following the... Yes, Marcus, they need to give him his Heisman back. So, the new defensive coordinator for USC football is... I'm probably going to butcher his first name, but D'Anton Lynn. Now, I don't know if he's related to Anthony Lynn, but I highly doubt it. But D'Anton Lynn is the new defensive coordinator for USC. So, y'all are probably wondering, well, who is this guy? So, he actually is not from too far away. He actually is the former defensive coordinator for UCLA. So, I guess that's pretty good. And I guess it certainly should beat Alex Grinch, as they just hired they hired Lynn sometime last week, as he was hired on last Friday. So Danton Lynn, who has experience coaching at both the collegiate and NFL levels, has been named USC's defensive coordinator, announced by Lincoln Riley. And then he says, "We're thrilled to welcome Danton. We simply couldn't have asked for a better addition to his staff, blah, 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 blah." And he most recently served as the defensive coordinator for UCLA, where he transformed the Bruin defense. He elevated UCLA's defense from ranking 87th in 2022 to finishing number 11 in 2023 in the nation. So, yeah. He transformed UCLA's defense from number 83 from last season to number 11 in the nation this season. If he's going to transform that defense, I'm excited to see what he could do with USC's defense. Because USC's defense can't get any worse than what it produced this past season under Alex Grinch. So I'm so excited to have this guy on the team, as he tutored Bruin star, I'm going to butcher this game, Laiatu Latu, who led the nation in tackles for loss per game. And then he also spent 9 seasons in the NFL, as he was the safeties coach for the Baltimore Ravens in 2021 and 2022. And in 2022, the Ravens, and I'm sorry, Jen B, I hate to bring up the Ravens again, the Ravens only surrendered 18.5 points per game, which ranked 3rd in the NFL. And he guided a position group that featured Chuck Clark, who piled up a career-high 101 total tackles, and which also had Marcus Williams, which had 4 interceptions, as well as Kyle Hamilton as well. And then in 2020, Lynn spent that year with the Houston Texans as their secondary assistant coach, where Houston was relevant back then, and they didn't have controversy. And then they had a plus 13 turnover differential, and they had Justin Reed before he turned coat and went to the Chiefs. Yeah. And then in 2017, Lynn, believe it or not, was actually a defensive assistant for the Los Angeles Chargers with his father, Anthony Lynn. So he is related to Anthony Lynn. Oh my goodness. So that's kind of interesting right there. When Anthony Lynn, and in 2017, if y'all remember, Anthony Lynn was the head coach. And he did a solid job during his time. It wasn't the flashiest, but it certainly wasn't terrible. In his first few years, Anthony Lynn was pretty good, and he even guided the Chargers to having the best record in the league. Only problem was they lost the tiebreaker to the Chiefs, and they were the 5th seed. They beat the Ravens and then lost to the Patriots. But we don't talk about that anymore. Anyway, so the Chargers gave up the 3rd fewest points per game at 17. Oh, those were the good old days. It was tied for 5th in sacks with 43, with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram leading the way. And then he was also on the Buffalo Bills as an assistant. I think that was when Anthony Lynn was there as well, because Anthony Lynn also was on the Bills coaching staff there. And then he started his coaching career as a seasonal intern with the Jets back in 2014. And then he also, believe it or not, was signed as an undrafted free agent in 2012. And he actually played Canadian football in the Canadian Football League for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And he hails from Penn State, where he played for the Nittany Lions, which was cool. So, all in all, I like this guy. If he can transform, like I said, if he can transform UCLA's defense, and he has NFL experience, and he's turned NFL defenses around, I think he could turn USC's defense around. I'm very excited for this hire, and I feel USC might have hit a home run with this. Now, I'm not sure why D'Anton Lynn left UCLA. Maybe it's because UCLA is in a worse place. Maybe because UCLA couldn't give him the money that USC was offering him. Maybe because USC has a brighter future. I was hearing that it did have something to do with the money, but all in all, I'm glad for USC's sake that Lynn is on the USC side. For UCLA, it sucks that they lose Lynn, but it is what it is. That's how the industry works. And, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. They'll probably hire an even better defensive coordinator, or they'll probably hire Alex Grinch, and then next year they'll be number one in the nation defensively, even though they're going to the freaking Big Ten. So that's pretty much all I got for USC in terms of its football program. Now, this weekend actually does mark a big-time game in Southern California. It's the CIF State Football Championships, as Mater Dei, which is one of the top-ranked teams in the nation and the top-ranked team in California, they will be playing Serra of San Mateo. I want to say it's this Saturday, if not tonight. Regardless, they're playing Serra of San Mateo, and they'll look to add to their CIF State Championship collection. And Mater Dei did defeat St. John Bosco a couple weeks ago. They really took them to the shed, beating them 35-7. And it was quite impressive, as Frank McManus, the first-year head coach of Mater Dei, won his first ever CIF Southern Section Division I championship as the Monarchs head coach. And that's not an easy role to fill, just because Mater Dei was previously coached by Bruce Rawlinson, and he built a dynasty at Mater Dei in terms of football. Say what you want about all the allegations and the accusations and the controversies, and Mater Dei being a private school and yanking players from all over the world and all over the county and all over the state, but Bruce Rawlinson did everything right, and he built Mater Dei to being a freaking dynasty. And it is just amazing that Frank McManus, in his first year, managed to win a CIF Southern Section Division I championship against St. John Bosco. Now, I know St. John Bosco did go down to the wire against another football factory in Corona Centennial, but I will just say, Mater Dei rose to the occasion, and they wound up winning when it truly mattered. This was the exact opposite of last year. Mater Dei beat St. John Bosco in the regular season, but lost to Bosco in the CIF Southern Section Division I championship. Now the roles were reversed. So I had to make note of that right there. And then also, in terms of like prep football, the 3C2A has its regionals this weekend, as the Riverside City Tigers advanced to the championship game, the 3C2A championship game, as they knocked off Ventura College, which is no surprise, as I imagine they'll be playing San Mateo, which, if that were the case, that it would be a rematch of last year's final. And I hope to catch a little of it, just because I really, really, really want to see San Mateo versus Riverside City in the state championship match, as Riverside stomped all over Ventura 45-26. If I didn't know better, that would probably be scoreagami right there, but I digress. But it was a big win for Riverside, as they wound up winning on the road. So good job to Riverside City, which is Larry B's alma mater, and he played for Coach Kraft. And San Mateo edged out American River 30-27, but they're NorCal. We don't care about them. Anyway, so the championship match is this Saturday, aka tomorrow, and it's at 1 p.m. And oh god, it's 1 p.m. And it's pay-per-view, apparently. Apparently, you have to watch this on pay-per-view, which I think you could still watch it, but no, I guess you have to purchase access, which, well, that's trash. I don't know what's worse, the NCAA charging to watch their Division II championship. Well, but then again, the college athletes deserve it. That's the only thing I see, and I guess according to the whole thing, it says every purchase helps support Division II women's volleyball championships. UPMC Event Center, the producer of this broadcast. Okay, whatever. And also, it's a business. The NCAA is a business. The 3C2A is a business. Everything is a business nowadays. Nothing is really considered free. But we are rooting for those Riverside City Tigers. Unfortunately, I will not be on 3 and Out College Edition tomorrow because I have work. But I will say my pick is Riverside City. RCC, the RCC Tigers are beating San Mateo. And I guess I'll throw this pick out there. I'll pick Army to beat Navy tomorrow in the Army-Navy game, just because, I won't be on 3-and-out College Edition. So, there you go. All right, but that is going to do it for the first part of this show. We're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will bring you the second half of the show, which will include some NHL action. And then we obviously have the Dum Dum of the Week. And then, before we go on break, we got one more update from the NCAA Women's Volleyball Division III Championship or Division III semifinal, and Cal State LA just beat Missouri of St. Louis in straight sets. They just took down Missouri in the third set, 25-17, as Cal State LA is bound for the NCAA Division II Women's Volleyball Championship game, baby. Let's go! And who says volleyball in California is relevant in terms of college? But I digress, in terms of Southern California. But we'll be right back after this. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after these messages.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
And welcome back to the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows. And one of the drops that you just heard was the Carolina cast from John Felipe, who will be going on following the show in about 24 minutes. So let's do what we can to get everything knocked out of the way and get him ready and basically get everything cleared out. So, like I just mentioned, we talked about Cal State LA's women's volleyball team advancing to the NCAA Division II National Championship game, which is awesome. Now let's get back on into the sad stuff, this wasn't ultimately sad, but the Ducks are still a walking funeral home, they finally snapped that long losing streak of theirs, but they still are losing. Yesterday, they wound up losing to the Chicago Blackhawks 1-0. Yeah, I bet you the goal scorer was Connor Bedard. Nope, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Well, that's even worse. They lost to a team that was worse than them. Great job, Ducks. And then Tuesday, they lost to the Colorado Avalanche 3-2. And then last Saturday, the Ducks actually wound up winning a game. Yes, oh my God, the Ducks won a game. They won at home against the Colorado Avalanche 4-3, which was awesome. Well, then last Thursday, they also lost to the Washington Capitals 5-4, which was completely inexcusable. Okay, just kidding. It's not ultimately inexcusable, but the Ducks, they start off really good, and now they look complete garbage. So much for that promising start. Anyway, so this Sunday, the Ducks are back at home as they host the Winnipeg Jets. Then starting Wednesday, they actually have a 4-game roadie, as Wednesday they are on the road against the New York Islanders. Then Friday, they're at the New York Rangers, which is one of the best teams in the league. Then the following Sunday, the 17th, the Ducks are at the New Jersey Devils, and then the following Monday, the Ducks close out their road trip against the Detroit Red Wings, which is home to Patrick Kane. So looking at the Ducks right now, they are near the bottom of the Pacific standings. Oh, Jiminy Christmas, this is absolutely sickening right there. I'm not even going to talk about the Ducks anymore. Let's move on to the Kings, because the Kings actually made history last night. So the Kings, believe it or not, they actually wound up making history in their win over the Montreal Canadiens. They actually became the first team in history to win their first 11 games on the road. Now that's pretty impressive right there. To win your first 11 games on the road, I'm generally impressed. I did not think that was a thing until I saw the ESPN graphic saying Kings became the first team in the NHL to win their first 11 games on the road. Okay. Good on you, LA Kings. You got my attention. They also beat the Columbus Blue Jackets in overtime on Tuesday, 4-3. And they also beat the Colorado Avalanche on my birthday on Sunday, 4-1, which was very nice. And that was great because they bounced back following their loss to the Washington Capitals last Wednesday. So this Saturday, the Kings are they remain on the road as they take on the New York Islanders. And then Sunday, the day after, they play the New York Rangers in the battle of the two of the better teams in the league. And then Wednesday, they return home to the Crypto.com Arena to take on the Winnipeg Jets. And then Saturday, the Kings hit the road to the Emerald City to take on the Seattle Kraken. So currently right now for the Kings, they're so much better than the Ducks, They are second in the Pacific Division as they are 4 points back of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, which is very nice. So keep it up, LA Kings. You're in the much better direction than the Ducks are. I mean, the Ducks aren't in a negative direction. I mean, they're only 5 points out of fourth place. And I know we're talking playoffs a little too early, but still. So it just sucks that the Ducks are they still haven't learned anything, as the Ducks are so bad. They are the third worst team in the Western Conference. Third worst team in the Western Conference. I'm going to cry right now. And they're the third worst team in the league, even though Ottawa, which has the same number of wins they have and the same number of points they have, has played 5 fewer games than them. But yeah, the Ducks lost to the worst team in the league. We got to relegate the Ducks. That's just inexcusable. Bad, 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 bad. Anyway, so yeah, the Kings, on the other hand, they're the second best team in the Western Conference, tied with Vancouver in terms of points. But record-wise, looks like the Kings have the edge on that. And that New York Rangers matchup is going to be a barn burner. So I'm excited for the Kings taking on the New York Rangers. So we'll see what happens this weekend. All right, but that is going to do it for the NHL portion of the show. All right, let's talk a little bit of some MLB. And this is something I don't like to discuss, just because the offseason isn't ultimately my cup of tea. But the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes is happening right now, and yikes, this is becoming quite interesting, as the Shohei Ohtani has, from what I'm hearing, Shohei Ohtani has narrowed it down to 4 teams that he's going to be going, that he's basically down to in terms of signing with everybody. In terms of signing with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, basically he'd be going back there. The Los Angeles Dodgers, the Toronto Blue Jays, surprisingly the Chicago Cubs, and there was actually a fifth team which had a minimal chance, but a chance. The San Francisco Giants. God, if he goes to San Francisco, then I'm going to puke. Also, the Angels managed to sign a pitcher, or left-handed pitcher, to a 1-year contract. They signed Adam Kolarek, which, that's good, I guess. It's a pitcher. I've never heard of him, though. But, yeah. Apparently, no one has heard of this guy. And apparently, he is a Mets legend and a Dodgers legend. Ugh. I guess that's okay. I guess I just need to throw that out there. But, yeah, that is basically all of your news right there. And I don't want to go into full in-depth on where Shohei Ohtani is going to go. I guess I hope Shohei Ohtani stays in Southern California, albeit with the Angels or Dodgers. If he goes to the Blue Jays, they definitely will be better than they were last year. And if he goes to the Giants, then he's going to pump a little bit of new life into the Giants, especially since they're going to get a new manager. But we'll see what happens. All right, but that is going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. Before we get on into Dum Dum of the Week, we actually have to... I almost forgot about the college basketball portion of the show. So let's talk a little NCAA women's basketball. So USC is still undefeated, as they're still the talk of the town, as they just beat San Diego this past Tuesday, I want to say it was. If not, it was Thursday. Yeah. No, it was earlier in the week. But regardless, USC managed to defeat San Diego, which is good stuff right there. They really throttled them. It was not even remotely close. I want to say it was like 89 to like 58, which, that's quite the schlacken. If you're a San Diego fan, I feel horrible for you. And yeah, it was 89 to 58, so I'm proud of myself. So, excuse me a second. All right, I hope this. There are some little kids outside playing. I hope you all can't hear it, but anyway, back to USC women's basketball. Yeah, it was actually on Sunday where USC thrashed San Diego 89-58. The women of Troy are back in action on Sunday when they take on UC Riverside at the Galen Center, and then USC also hosts Fullerton on Monday, December 18th, and then 3 days after that, USC heads down to the Pyramid in Long Beach to take on Long Beach State. So, like I mentioned on the previous show, USC women's basketball isn't really playing the stiffest of competition. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing, but they're playing so much local talent. They're playing the local SoCal teams. They played San Diego, they're playing Riverside now, they're going to play Fullerton, they're going to play Long Beach. And this is all going to lead up to their first Pac-12 game against UCLA. Now, that's actually a perfect segue to go into those Lady Bruins, as last night they just thrashed CSUN, Cal State Northridge, 111-48. Yeah, whoever schedules these games, why? Why are you scheduling CSUN? When was the last time CSUN gave UCLA a battle in terms of women's basketball? But I digress. And then on Sunday, UCLA beat Arkansas on the road 81-66. The Lady Bruins are also undefeated at 8-0, as Sunday they actually are playing Florida State. So I think that's pretty cool right there. Florida State's actually number 20, and this is the Hall of Fame Women's Showcase. So it's actually going to be in a neutral site in Uncasville, Connecticut. So that's pretty cool. And then Monday on December 18th, UCLA hits the road to Columbus to take on the Ohio State. Now, USC beat Ohio State, and that's actually Ohio State's only loss of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see if UCLA beats them and by how much. And then UCLA closes off non-conference play against Hawaii at home. That's going to be a very tough trip for Hawaii. And eventually it's going to be USC versus UCLA. I'm 95% certain, unless those big West Conference teams pull off an upset against SC or UCLA loses along the way against Florida State or Ohio State, we're going to see UCLA and USC undefeated. I think it's going to be fun times right there. And then let's jump to some NCAA men's basketball. As remember how I said UCLA was going to cruise to victory against UC Riverside? Well, I kind of lied, because last Thursday UCLA got quite a scare as they almost lost to UC Riverside, but they narrowly escaped with a 66-65 win. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how did UCLA almost lose that game? UCLA is not that bad, right? Is UC Riverside just that good? Well, UCLA actually did not have their head coach. So I guess Mick Cronin did not coach, and he was out sick. So, And it actually took a game-winning jumper to win this game. So, wow. I know it's UC Riverside, and I know they're one of the more improved teams in the Southern California landscape in terms of men's basketball. But honestly, I'm a little surprised that UCLA almost lost that one. But it is what it is. So UCLA is back in action this Saturday when they hit the road to take on Villanova. That's a sneaky good game right there. And then the following Saturday, UCLA plays the Ohio State in the CBS Sports Classic in Atlanta, Georgia at State Farm Arena. And then they've got Maryland, which is going to be a sneaky good match right there just because the Big Ten is going to be a future UCLA opponent in terms of the conference. And there you have it. And then as for USC, they unfortunately took an L at the Legends of Basketball Las Vegas Invitational last Saturday as they wound up losing to Gonzaga 89-76, which was a bummer, and that was actually their most recent game. Last time when we went live, we recapped their win over Eastern Washington as they wound up crushing Eastern Washington 106-78. So USC is actually back in action this Sunday as they host Long Beach State. Now, if I were USC, I would not underestimate Long Beach State. I think Long Beach State can give USC a run for their money, and For all the times USC has thrashed Long Beach State, I think this is the opportunity for the Beach to actually pull off a win. And I'm not saying that just because I'm biased and I went to Long Beach State, but I'm saying that because I think Long Beach State has the talent, and they have won 3 in a row. And that is Long Beach State's next matchup. And Long Beach State just got off of a big win, albeit over Life Pacific, which I think that's an NAIA school, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's an NCAA Division II or Division III school. Regardless, it's not on the level of Long Beach State. They thrashed them 88-66. And then Long Beach State also beat Sacramento State last Saturday, so there you go. All right, but that is going to do it for the NCAA basketball portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, we quickly got to do Dum Dum of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week is basically an award I give out to an organization or someone that does or says something stupid. And we have quite a bit of Dum Dums of the Week. So I'm just going to go long story short here. So I think I have 4 Dum Dums of the Week. And it starts off with Chargers Patriots. After watching that game, I legit had a massive headache. I did not know what I watched after that. It was just painful, to say the least. And like I said, I turned 31 on Sunday. It felt like I turned 51. So watching that Chargers-Patriots game took off 20 years on my life. Just because watching a Chargers game already takes life off of my years off of my life, which is sad because, again, that's how the Chargers roll and that's how they are. But unfortunately, watching that game just upped the ante. So, Chargers-Patriots, although it's NFL, and although it was a defensive battle, and although it was raining, and although both teams had poor offenses, and although both teams just couldn't get their you-know-what together, you get Dum Dum of the Week, the first one, just because that game was basically a massive headache in a nutshell.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
All right, now the second Dum Dum of the Week. All right, now we have to give it to someone a little bit more logical. Okay, so this happened on, I think it was Tuesday, and people have their long reaches with their takes. But this, obviously, is the dumbest take I've ever heard of. So, this past Sunday, I think most of y'all know this, the Philadelphia Eagles got whomped on by the San Francisco 49ers. I think it was like 41-17. They got spanked. It was a shellacking. It was not even close, as the Niners paid back the Eagles from last year's NFC Championship. Now, I know people have their opinions on things. However, this might be the dumbest opinion I've ever heard of. So David Carr went on NFL Network, or wherever he went on, and basically said this, and I quote, okay, not and I quote, but he considered the Eagles benching Jalen Hurts for Marcus Mariota. I'm not kidding you. David Carr straight up said that the Eagles should bench Jalen Hurts, the dude that took the Eagles to the Super Bowl last year, for Marcus Mariota. Oh my God. That might be the worst take ever. Marcus Mariota. This isn't 2016, David Carr, or 2017. The fact that this man recommended benching Jalen Hurts, their franchise quarterback, who got all the money this past offseason, for Marcus Mariota. The dude has been irrelevant since 2019. The dude got ran out of town by Tennessee. The fact that David Carr recommended him starting over Jalen Hurts is absolutely terrible. I know David Carr had a lot of concussions in his day, and concussions aren't anything to joke at, but this idea is terrible, horrible, awful. David Carr, this probably is Dum Dum of the Year. The fact that someone would even recommend this is asinine. So, David Carr, you are Dum Dum of the Week and then some. Like, come on, bro. Oh, wait. Come on, guy. You gotta raise your voice. Say it with your chest, my guy.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb.
Oh.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Come on, my guy. We only got 5 minutes to spare. Alright, so there was that right there. And now this one is a little bit more of a touchier subject in terms of Dum Dum of the Week. Now, I really hate that this guy made a mistake, and I really like this head coach, and I defended this coach all the way back before the season started, but there are things you should never, ever reference, and 9/11 is one of them. And the fact that Sean McDermott actually referenced this in like a little bit of a pep talk is really saddening. And I really got to go over the exact news right here. So Sean McDermott actually, he said, at St. John College in Pittsford, New York, McDermott's morning address began instantly enough. He told the entire team they need to come together, but then sources on hand say he used a strange model. The terrorists on September 11th, 2001. He cited the hijackers as a group of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks to perfection. One by one, McDermott started asking specific players in the room questions. What tactics do you think they used to come together? A young player tried to methodically answer, what do you think their biggest obstacle was? A veteran answered, TSA, which mercifully lightened the mood. Okay, now Gen B laughed at the David Carr thing. Well, this is something you don't really want to mention, and no one should be mentioning 9/11 in any sort of pep talk thing, or I don't know what he was doing. According to Adam Schefter, he says, here's the instance that Ty Dunn reported on the Bills head coach Sean McDermott addressed this afternoon. So, I'm just going to say this. This is just unacceptable. This is not only dumb, but it's straight up illogical for Sean McDermott. There are things you can never say in this world, and that is absolutely one of them. You just can't do that. You never know who's reporting on it, and you never know who's basically straight up listening. Like, this is bad, dude. And now people might be calling for Sean McDermott's head even more. And you just can't use references like that. It's almost like, I think it was Kid Rock used a Hitler reference one time. And I forgot to mention this part of the show is probably listener discretion advised. But I guess I should have forewarned y'all that prior. But I said this was going to be a touchy subject. But what Sean McDermott referenced was absolutely dumb and illogical. You just can't reference that. It's not smart. And so what if someone's loved ones died in the terrorist bombing of 9/11? Like, that's terrible, dude. Sean McDermott has to think better like that. That's just bad, dude. So, Sean McDermott, I hope you I know he apologized. I know he said, I regret saying what I said about the 9/11 thing, but you gotta actually think before you say. It's basically the most logical. It's basically the rule number one. Think before you say. As you never know who's in the crowd, and you never know who's basically who's recording and who's reporting on this, and basically that's just not good. So I just don't know how to really put this except you have to use your brain, Sean. And for that, Sean McDermott, you get Dum Dum of the Week, and this is without a doubt. And this is no laughing matter, so I'm not even going to include the Kawhi Leonard laugh.
For real.
Oh, I screwed up.
So dumb.
I screwed up.
So dumb. You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Yeah, I'm not even going to include the Kawhi Leonard laugh. Sean McDermott does not even deserve the Kawhi Leonard laugh. And that's not a laughing matter, in all honesty. So, Sean McDermott, I hope you basically learned your lesson, just because you just can't say anything like that. There are things you should never say in this world, and that is one of them. All right, but that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. John Felipe said I can go live a little bit longer, but we are about to get on out of here. As I got me some NCAA women's volleyball to keep tabs on, and we have to clear out the way for John Felipe. Yeah, dig! Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do hope everybody enjoyed. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen anytime, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room, Davidson Crooks, Marcus, Los Great, Jen B. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. It means a lot. Thank you all for your support. I will be back for Set Point on Monday at its normal time. And then as for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, looking at it, I'm probably going to be shooting for today's the 8th. I have a banquet on Thursday. Maybe Saturday. Yeah, probably Saturday. If not, maybe Friday for the next episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. But until then, time will tell. I will let y'all know. And IE Sports Radio PR will let y'all know. But have yourself a great rest of the evening. Enjoy the Southern California sports action this weekend. Go Cal State LA women's volleyball. Bring home that national championship. Go all the other sports. Go LAFC. No offense to the Columbus crew, Jen B. She says, great show, Teran. Thank you, Jen. And I will see you all Monday for Set Point. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!